Hello, this is the Dragon of Cyberspace coming to you with all news, tips, and tricks within the gaming spectrum. And while this video's topic isn't directly about a video game per se, it is about a video game franchise, as yet again, another member of the industry has come out glorifying violence against people who just want to have a conversation. That Park Place reports Sonic the Hedgehog artist Iggy Dietrichs under fire for mocking Charlie Kirk tragedy online, quickly locks X accounts. And yes, she should quickly lock her X account, because a lot of people have come out in outrage and people have been losing their jobs, have been fired for making such statements, and she knows what she said was wrong. They should quickly lock their account, because everyone's been fired and faced backlash and controversy, and calls were made because of the disgusting comments they made. And they know, this person knows exactly what they said is wrong and could get them fired. They would not say this stuff if they could have gotten fired. For too long, these people have never been held accountable for their actions. And yes, I agree that what they said is free speech. You could say these things, all right? But that doesn't mean it's cancel culture in this case. It is consequence culture. You're being held accountable for your actions. They know they would be held to account and probably lose their quote-unquote dream job, as a certain person at Ghost of Yote's development team stated after making a comment and losing her job for 10 years. Moving on. A Sonic the Hedgehog artist is gaining infamy online for mocking the Charlie Kirk crash. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, remains a raw wound in America's political and cultural landscape. Across the nation, supporters mourn the loss of a Republican leader who has dedicated his life to speaking out on campuses and defending traditional values. But not everyone responded with respect. In fact, some celebrated. And you know what? This kind of reminds me of another time when a public figure died, and people mocked it. Akira Toriyama died last year at 68 years. He created Dragon Ball. And after he died, there were people running around mocking his death, saying slanderous things about him. Now, while granted, he wasn't murdered per se, we still found this disgusting and were outraged. Many people locked their accounts after being called out for such heinous remarks. Among these voices for Charlie Kirk's example was a figure tied to Sega's flagship family-friendly brand, Sonic the Hedgehog. Iggy Dietrichs is an artist and writer who has also been gone by Brigitte Dietrichs, with professional credits on IDW's publishing Sonic the Hedgehog comic series and past collaborations tied directly to Sega. This artist used social media in the immediate aftermath of Kirk's death to openly mock the tragedy. Dietrichs, who identifies as non-binary, and I'm not even going to humor the fictional pronoun bullshit, shared playlist titles Charlie Kirk is dead and Charlie Kirk is explicit dead, turning a political killing into a punchline of a joke. Screenshots show commentary brushing off expressions of grief, rewriting thoughts and prayers as meaningless, and treating Kirk's loss as a cause for celebration rather than sorrow. This is not the behavior of an obscure internet troll. Dietrichs has a visible presence in the Sonic community, with artwork featured in the official Sonic the Hedgehog comics and promotional materials. Dietrichs' professional resume includes variant covers, coloring, inking, and writing contributions to IDW's ongoing Sonic line. Dietrichs is spotlighted in Sonic the Hedgehog issue number 76 in a section called Creator Corner. In that feature, IDW gave Dietrichs a platform to promote personal work alongside official Sonic content. Sega and IDW didn't just publish this artist, they endorsed, elevated, and publicly showcased this thing to fans. That makes these social media posts all the more disturbing. Sega has marketed Sonic as a hero for children for more than 3 decades. I should know, I used to be a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog as a child. I would prefer Sonic over Mario, hence why in my interviews with Dragoncast, I will always randomly pop up a question, Sonic or Mario, to see my interviewees' responses and make jokes based on that, because it was also a callback to the first console war. But I also had the Archie Comics series, and I kept collecting them until I could no longer have access to them where I lived, and eventually grew out of them as I became an adult. But I still share Sonic the Hedgehog with my son, who loves the movie, the franchise, the shows, and on occasion plays the games. Parents would not expect someone in the hand of Sonic's official comics to be mocking the murder of a public figure, sharing rhetoric, and sharing memes about harming police officers. The posts about Charlie Kirk's assassination are not isolated. Other materials from Dutrix's account reveals a broader pattern of radical inflammatory commentary. Examples include a retweet applauding the idea that armed in words should be dead in words. I highlighted that for your view. Post mocking religion as nothing more than control tactics that exploit people. I hate to break it to them, but atheism is also a religion. Or atheist is kind of true. This is the only reason why atheism in America. I'll pick that out yourselves and look it up. Reaction celebrating the misfortune of political adversaries. Individually, these posts might be brushed off as edgy humor. Together, they paint a picture of someone who treats violence and hatred as entertainment. When such commentary comes from a professional tied to children's media, it takes a far more serious character. Cosmic Book News also reported that Dutrix publishes an explicit gender-queer comic, allegedly featuring depictions of children or young teens as young as 11 or 12. And it's not an isolated case, as this incident is part of a disturbing trend in entertainment. As we also had covered in my previous videos with Bethesda and Ghost of Yote, and there's even a Square Enix thing, where Square Enix actually had a lore and English localizer come out and mock deaths of Charlie Kirk, and they did nothing. Or Square Enix did nothing. In fact, there was a whole forum for Final Fantasy where they mocked Charlie Kirk's death, and Square Enix quietly shut that forum down. No statements. Ghost of Yote, the individual got fired, and no statement was made. Bethesda makes a post about not caring about fascists in relation to Charlie Kirk. It was later deleted, and no statement was made at the recording of this video. So other examples include DC Comics writer Gretchen Felker-Markins sparked outrage after celebrating Kirk's killing and dismissing him as an undeserving of respect before being fired by DC. Heretofore we mentioned Ghost of Yote developer Drew Hamilton was fired by Sucker Punch after posting similar celebratory remarks, and from what I understand, DC has not made a statement yet. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Stephen King spread misinformation about Kirk and was forced to apologize when someone pointed out that Kirk did not condone the killing of trans people. That was a popular rhetoric of why Let's hate him so much, because someone slandered Kirk's name. Slander that literally got him killed. Someone lied about Kirk because they don't like him, and spread inflammatory comments and slander that got him killed. That personally, I'm not a lawyer, but if I was the widow, I'd be looking at lawsuits. Because what would have happened if those statements would have been made? Would he still be alive today? We have to ask that question. And I'm not into politics. You can disagree with Kirk all you want. You can lie and everything else about him. You can make your own beliefs. That's fine. That's your right to do so. But when you start advocating and mocking to death, that's when we have a problem. That's when people have questions. And companies who stay silent, also, we have questions. Should we really be supporting you? A well-beloved franchise. Now, it's no surprise here, okay, that after 30 years, the original individuals that created these games are no longer there. And there's new people there. But the question is, should we be rewarding them with our money? Should we be purchasing their products if they don't hold these people to account and make statements condemning these actions? Again, this is not cancel culture. This is consequences. Actions have consequences, and when you make such disgusting comments like that, do you really want to be working with those kind of individuals? Do you really want to be paying and supporting that kind of behavior? I don't make the rules here. Another case is the developer of indie studio game Caribbean Sandwich, which we covered as well, openly mocking Kirk's death online. Now, to trick the controversy hit Sega's blue mascot, what unites these cases is the reckless willingness of industry professionals to turn political violence into a social media joke, with little regard for the impact on grieving family, fans, or the brands they represent. Now, I will even add in a point that I've heard that people have been these individuals are making lists of who they want to have Kirk next, shall we say, and that's disturbing. If you're going to say you want free speech, and you want to say that you want everyone to have a voice, and you say you're diverse, inclusive, and everything else, we've been harping on this for 10 years or more, you need to admit that there is a difference in ideas. Not everyone's going to believe in your ideals. And you not liking Kirk because he's willing to have a talk with people and trying to convince them to vote politically on their side shows more about you than anything else. After big name gaming communities figures like Mark Kearns or Grumps and Madam Savvy amplifying screenshots of Dutrix's post mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination, the backlash escalated. Dutrix's primary account was quickly locked, with the artist even changing its name to Archive Account, replacing her profile with photos of dirt. So you can see right here their name. But that was the end of the story. Getrix has also operated a second handle directly attributed with the Sonic IP, which has over 20,000 followers. On that account, Getrix posted a message with replies turned off on September 14th, announcing that all future social media activity would focus strictly on artwork, commissions, and products. So perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps they talked to her. But I'm going to say that's not enough. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if her supervisor says, yeah, you can't be posting shit like that. We're not going to fire you. But if you're going to post on social media, it should only be about work. It should only be about artwork and commissions. Like, we don't want to be tied to that. None of it. No, what you should have done is that's what they did. No, what they should have done is say you're fired. Get the fuck out of here. You don't represent our values. You don't represent the brand, and you're a poor representation of what Sonic stands for. We have kids that we market to, and what you're doing is not meant for kids. What you're doing is gross and does not represent what Sonic would do. Sonic would fight injustice, sure, but Sonic isn't going to go run around in the streets and destroy Eggman. If I remember correctly, in some comics, Sonic actually worked with Eggman a couple of times for the greater good, where they had to team up against things. There are cases where there was a good Eggman, and Sonic worked with him. That was in the Archie comics. There are cartoon episodes where Sonic actually had Eggman sitting in his house. You know, so would that kind of Sonic be the same Sonic that this person is portraying? I don't think so. Of course, the internet never forgets. Screenshots of the playlist and inflammatory remarks continue to circulate widely, with fans tagging Sega and IDW posting, demanding answers. For Sega and IDW, the choice is now unavoidable: either address the controversy head-on or allow the perception to harden that the companies condone an artist tied to Sonic mocking the death of a Republican leader. And I say Republican because I don't feel, based on what like I said, I haven't watched a lot of Charlie Kirk's content, but the stuff that I have seen and times I had heard him speak, he sounds more Republican than conservative, especially with his talks of grand divorce. As a conservative, I do not believe, conservatives do not believe in dissolving the union. They believe in preserving it, hence the name conservative. But that's my personal opinion. I still think he has the right to say what he wants to say, and I'm not trying to short shade him in any way, shape, or form. But I'm pointing out there because people probably notice that it says conservative and I say Republican. But I don't condone these actions. His death was not needed. It is not what I fought for. But continuing on, it's by dispatch for Sega and IDW. The issue is not one artist's behavior; it is a question of accountability. Sega and IDW have built a reputation on producing family-friendly, accessible stories that appeal to kids as well as nostalgic adults. The Sonic comics are marketed to teenagers and preteens, the very audience most exposed to the messages shared by creators online. When a professional affiliated with such properties revels in the death of a man, mocks grieving families, and circulates content that normalizes violence, it undermines the trust parents place in the brand. Fans have the right to ask, does Sega condone this? Does IDW find this acceptable? Or will the companies distance themselves from this rhetoric? And yes, me personally, I am very concerned because I have a nostalgia for Sonic the Hedgehog, and my son likes Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm a parent. I don't know if I should let my son watch this, and I don't even know how to explain to him why he can't watch this content anymore. I can tell him, here's all I can tell him. The people who make Sonic's cartoons and comics he likes, they had someone in there that made fun of someone who was murdered for just wanting to have a conversation. And they have not done anything to that. So I don't know if we should be watching this because I don't want to reward that kind of behavior. Just like I don't reward your bad behavior, your being my son, bad behavior when he breaks my rules or gets a bad grade. Why should I reward that? In conclusion, Charlie Kirk's devastation was a tragedy. It's not a meme, it's not a playlist joke, and it's not something that should be trivialized by people entrusted with shaping the culture of children consume. Someone directly involved with Sonic the Hedgehog comics used their platform to celebrate a man's killing and mock those who grieved him. The question now falls on Sega and IDW. Do they condone this behavior from one of their creatives? Or will they act to uphold the standards expected of a family brand? For parents, fans, and anyone concerned about cultural climate, this is a moment to pay attention. Sonic the Hedgehog has always stood for speed, adventure, and fun, not political cruelty. The brand deserves better. But what do you think, viewer? Put your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, happy gaming.
Worlds clash in endless collision. Gaming news with a fierce precision. With a spark so wild it breaks the norm. In the tempest eye,